You're about to see 33 reasons that I think Internet Computer Protocol will flip Bitcoin in the future for the #1 cryptocurrency spot. I know this is a big suggestion, and that's why I've put a lot of very clear points in here for you. So the #1 thing to begin with, Internet Computer Protocol, if you've never heard of it, it is a new way to build the entire internet. We're not talking about just sending transactions and some ordinals on chain. You can rebuild the entire internet on Internet Computer Protocol. If you want something similar to that, Amazon Web Services, which is the main way the internet is hosted today, this is valued at $1.3 trillion with a total market cap in the multiple trillions for cloud hosting services. If ICP gets to 1,800 per ICP, which is very possible in this bull market, the total market would still be less than Amazon Web Services and the same as Bitcoin. Meanwhile, you've heard all about ETF for Bitcoin. Well, there's already Bitcoin ETFs around the world in other countries. ICP, meanwhile, has very few ETFs, but they are starting to launch. There's an ICP ETP, or it's an ETF in Canada, launching in January 2024, which will be able to bring all that hype and excitement you're thinking about with Bitcoin into ICP, which is much, much smaller. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is very slow to change and upgrade. And this is why, to me, Bitcoin being the top cryptocurrency is absolutely unsustainable in the long term. And this is why Bitcoin has continued to get diminishing returns. Meanwhile, Internet Computer Protocol is the first adaptive DAO blockchain that automatically upgrades based on proposals that anyone can submit to the network nervous system. When then you look at Bitcoin, how is Bitcoin ever going to get mass adoption when you've got Bitcoin fees are too expensive for most people in transactions? And especially if you've DCA'd into Bitcoin and you've generated all these different wallet addresses, you could be looking to pay a huge fee just to move your money from one address to another. Meanwhile, ICP has nearly instant transactions that are almost free, having fees of less than 1 cent and instantly settling. ICP is set up for mass adoption with a reverse gas fee model, which hardly any other blockchains just have that one feature alone. But most of the internet is built on a reverse gas fee model. The developers pay everything for you to come go to whatever website you're using. And it's unreasonable to expect the future is going to be built on blockchains where ordinary people are going to pay gas fees. Bitcoin, as everybody knows, is old technology, but what you might not know is Bitcoin is not prepared for quantum computing. And because, as I just said, it's slow to upgrade and change, and because of how it's set up, I'm not even sure they can make any quantum computing solution that will keep the old wallets, think Satoshi's wallet, safe from quantum computing, which means eventually Satoshi's old wallet is going to move and all those old Bitcoins are going to get sold off to a quantum hacker, whereas ICP can constantly adapt and change and always be ready for quantum computing. Meanwhile, Bitcoin mining, which is a core feature of keeping Bitcoin safe, it wastes massive amounts of energy, which is one reason Bitcoin has not gotten much broader adoption, because it uses a huge amount of energy and it's been attacked on the energy relentlessly. Meanwhile, if you're looking at scaling Bitcoin, which if we look at all the things we just said, the only way to really use Bitcoin at scale is to scale it and use things like layer 2s. And guess what has the best Bitcoin layer 2 anywhere? Internet Computer Protocol. It released Chain Key Bitcoin this year, or in 2023, within the last year, which is the best Bitcoin scaling technology. Now, if you're excited about Bitcoin ETFs and layer 2s for Bitcoin to scale it, what you're not looking at, and what almost nobody else is covering in the entire space, is that this means less sustainability for the Bitcoin network. Bitcoin mining is continually becoming less profitable, and the more you have Bitcoin held by ETFs and large exchanges and layer 2s like ICP, even things like the Lightning Network, the more you have concentrated Bitcoin that's being transacted off of the Bitcoin chain, that means less transaction fees for miners, which means less profitable mining, which means less mining machines, which means less secure network. That's where we're headed with Bitcoin, where mining becomes utterly unprofitable, and therefore the network security will be completely compromised. Now, one reason Bitcoin is slow to adapt is the technology is old, and one reason ICP is fast to adapt is, but also Bitcoin there are very few core developers actually working on Bitcoin. And that's because you cannot make any money on Bitcoin unless the price moves. But as we'll see in a minute, Dfinity, meanwhile, the team that released Internet Computer Protocol, they have the largest research and development team in crypto. Speaking purely logical here, if I gave you no other facts, would you bet on a small handful of people that are on the Bitcoin core team and have access to the Bitcoin GitHub? Would you bet on them, or would you bet on the largest research and development team in blockchain to have better price action in the future? I mean, it just seems like a total no-brainer. And as an example of what this team has accomplished, not only do you have the world's most advanced Bitcoin layer 2, you now have chain key Ethereum. The first phase has released. And this will make Internet Computer, it already does make Internet Computer the first layer 2 in the world, both for Bitcoin and Ethereum, all on the same platform. And within a year or so, ICP's technology is already far better than any other layer 2. And within a year or two, it will have the absolute most unbelievably advanced Ethereum layer 2. Nothing right now can even hope to keep up with how Internet Computer is scaling Ethereum. So Internet Computer has an unbelievable approach that it is going to literally consume all the rest of crypto by being the best Bitcoin and Ethereum scaling solution, and the best place. Companies can start moving their IT infrastructure over to ICP, where developers can build without centralized points of failure. Because the internet right now is built on all these centralized servers like Amazon Web Services. And for crypto, that's especially bad because most of these cryptos are built on centralized hosting. And then there's a developer in the middle of that can be hacked, and there's a centralized hosting, and those all have centralized points of failure. And they require security teams and a lot of money to try and keep them safe. When you can just build directly on Internet Computer Protocol, you don't need things like Amazon Web Services anymore. And that means all of the action, all of the building is on Internet Computer. But what makes this absolutely nuts is you can stake ICP in the network nervous system and earn as much as 16% APR, which is what I'm getting right now, in voting rewards. And that is where most people really get excited in finance. The dream come true for finance is when you can get a return like dividends on an appreciating asset. Because a certificate of deposit, if you lock up your money in the bank, US dollars and all other fiat currencies are constantly losing spending power. So even if you get a return on your certificate of deposit in the bank, your dollars themselves are constantly, through inflation that is out of control more than we've ever seen it, dropping the spending power. So even if you get 6-8% on a CD at the bank, what you're locking up itself is losing value. Whereas Internet Computer, and this is where I see ICP really going nuts, the utility for Internet Computer is absolutely exploding based on the stuff I've shown you here and what's to come. And then you can earn 16% APR on an appreciating asset indefinitely. It sounds too good to be true, which is why I've put hundreds of hours into researching this before sharing what I'm saying here today with you. Meanwhile, if you compare this to Bitcoin, so in order to get this 16% APR, you need to lock up your ICP for 8 years to get that. So right now, about half of the ICP supply is locked up and cannot be sold until it even starts unlocking. Meanwhile, anyone that's holding Bitcoin, including these massive collections like MicroStrategy via Michael Saylor have, anyone can dump their Bitcoin anytime. And the profits only come from price action. And that's why Bitcoin has not been sustainable for developers, because the price action is the only way developers can, by just holding Bitcoin and hoping the price goes up, that's the only way developers on Bitcoin can even make a profit. Whereas on Internet Computer, the Definity Foundation has those voting rewards coming to them. As the price goes up, they will have a bigger and bigger war chest to continue to fund the development and advancement of the project, which is extremely sustainable. Because if Definity can keep adding value to Internet Computer, it will keep getting better. Whereas Bitcoin doesn't keep getting better, it's going nowhere. So what we've been seeing, as the Bitcoin price goes up, the ICP price is going to come along with it. For the most part, when Bitcoin pumps, most other altcoins just go up with it. But as we've seen, yes, ICP did get fudded, and a bunch of junk, information about it led to it did take a big drop after its manipulated launch. But as we've seen in the last 3 months since I started covering ICP and went all in on it, the ICP price has greatly outperformed the price of Bitcoin. And ICP pumping did not impact the Bitcoin price. But when Bitcoin goes up, if, for example, the ETF comes out, the price of ICP and most other altcoins will go up right along with Bitcoin. So upward price action takes ICP up too, but downward Bitcoin price action, as we've seen recently, when Bitcoin has dropped, the ICP price often continued or even went up alongside it. If you're into AI, ICP is the only way to run AI on chain with multiple large language learning models already active. Whereas, what is AI going to do with Bitcoin except perhaps use things like quantum computing or advanced algorithms to crack it? ICP has, this is why ICP, this is just one thing ICP can do that's massive. Now, I mentioned this before, but we'll talk more about it now. Nearly all other crypto projects use centralized hosting for their websites, apps, and databases, meaning almost no real value is actually on chain. And this is a big case for things like Ethereum and almost all the others. And you've seen people like Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, saying the future is on chain. The only place to build fully on chain is Internet Computer. For example, Elon Musk said in an interview with Joe Rogan that he thought basically an NFT that you'd buy some NFT like on OpenSea, on Ethereum or Polygon, doesn't matter because they're all hosted back on Amazon Web Services or some other server. It's not actually on a blockchain. And he said that's obviously worthless. And what he suggested is that, if the NFT was on chain where you were buying it, then that by comparison would be worthwhile. ICP is the only place where you can put all kinds of NFTs, pictures, videos, games, code, and so much more. There soon we'll be able to put 400 gigabytes in a single canister smart contract on ICP, which means theoretically you could sell NFTs like 50 gigabyte NFTs all on chain on ICP. And you have to burn ICP to pay for all that stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute, but this makes ICP the best place to track real world assets. Now, things like Bitcoin have been called digital gold, but on ICP, we're seeing a gold backed stable coin and a gold token and gold NFTs all being built directly on ICP. And the protocol that's made this possible is called Origin. This is valued already at $100 and some million, and it's hosted completely on ICP. If you're excited about real world assets like real estate, gold, diamonds, the best place to put all this stuff on chain is ICP. There's no other good way to do it. What I hope you're getting is that ICP has very clear reasons, like on-chain gaming and gambling. You can build this at scale, and people are already building. People have made very successful games before, like the creators of Neopets. They are building their newest game on ICP. There's a bunch. I've talked to some people in one-on-one calls on my website. They are building things like on-chain gaming and on-chain gambling on ICP, and nobody knows about it yet. But this is what's coming. I want what's coming to me. This is what's coming. You can do things on ICP like decentralized social media apps are absolutely thriving on ICP. And what's funny to me, you have apps like Discover that have brought all these users from Solana over, and the users on Solana don't realize that the application they're using is hosted on Internet Computer Protocol and it was built on Internet Computer Protocol, and all their Solana wallet is doing is basically signing them in. That Solana itself is doing almost nothing, and Internet Computer Protocol underneath it is doing the real work and therefore is building the real value there. There's several these social media apps that are growing and able to pay users and are built in ways because it's all on chain that you just cannot do anywhere else, which offers a lot of real value to the world. And this is why in the last year, the ICP Launchpad has produced now more than 11 tokens that are valued at more than $100 million. And this does not count Origin because that's not on there. So the ICP now has the absolute best launchpad in crypto with no KYC that anyone can launch a project on if it gets voted by ICP people who've staked and locked up ICP like me. If we vote on it and it passes, anyone in the world can launch a token with a fully automated DAO system that all runs on chain. And this just launched at the end, within a little over last year. You've already seen projects successfully raised with this. This is now the best place to launch a new token in all of crypto. And it takes time for developers to find ICP and to start building on it. The next 2 years, just the ICP Launchpad is going to lead to a ton of ICP that's locked up and put into projects. And you can, on ICP, you don't even need centralized exchanges to swap all these different altcoins. Think something like Uniswap, but completely on chain and instant transactions and almost no gas fees, where the crypto remains in your wallet and you can't get ripped off. Like MetaMask, you can easily get ripped off by clicking the wrong website and it can clean everything out. Whereas on ICP, each of these decentralized exchanges has its own wallet address to help keep your funds safe and give you a unique wallet. If you are looking at some of these things for decentralized identity, ICP has the absolute best system and technology I've ever seen for making a wallet. You don't need a hardware wallet with it. You get your recovery phrase. Your devices already have cryptographic environments inside them. ICP has built technology that will successfully work with your PC, your Mac, your iPad, your iPhone, your other tablets, and allow you to use things like your face, your PIN, your security key, or your fingerprint to secure your account, all without a hardware wallet, all of which can be then secured with a recovery phrase in case you lose access to your devices. And even if you lose access to your recovery phrase, as long as you keep access to your devices, you should be able to continue using your account. This is the most scalable and mass adoption friendly login wallet solutions we see anywhere in crypto. And despite having one of the worst price charts we've seen in a big crypto due to manipulation, because ICP is so good, it is threatening the existence of every other crypto project, even Bitcoin. Once you use ICP, I sold all my Bitcoin for ICP, because why would I want to hold some old coin like Bitcoin that clearly is not going to work for mass adoption or global reserve currency? ICP looks like it's in the best position to become global reserve currency or to support local currencies moving directly on chain. Despite all the stuff, the misinformation, the silence, despite all the scams we've seen with creators that are paid not to talk about ICP, interest in ICP is reaching all-time highs, back to where it was at its initial launch. And most cryptos never get that high again after they launch. ICP already processes thousands of transactions, which all the hype and stuff about Solana, for example. ICP processes the same amount of transactions Solana does, except Solana's transactions do almost nothing computationally. ICP does the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of Ethereum transactions per second in the amount of computation it does. It is a true world computer, and people are outright lying to you, saying that nobody's using ICP. Millions of accounts just with internet identity have been created, making the average user valuation well under $1,000. So if you look at how many people have created accounts and are using ICP, there's millions and millions of internet identities and other wallets that have been created. Now, I might have needed to update this slide with the recent pump of the ICP price. Maybe it's getting close to $1,000 depending on how you count it. But if you compare that to something like Bitcoin, Ethereum, the average value per actual user or account, not just per address, you often use a bunch of different addresses. The average value per user on these chains is way, 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 way higher. So if you compare the users and the valuation per user, ICP is crushing things like Bitcoin and Ethereum already. And you've got all kinds of partnerships where you have these companies that are partnering with ICP to build things directly on chain, which is providing real utility, which is what most of crypto is missing. And where this all comes together is ICP is burned to pay for computation, which means ICP can become deflationary with enough adoption, even offsetting the staking rewards. Whereas Bitcoin is only deflationary when people lose it, which people lose their ICP in their wallets too. So ICP, if it becomes deflationary, and that means there's massive utility for the token, you need to burn ICP. Think of it as the equivalent of paying your Amazon Web Services bill, which there's billions and billions of dollars a year that go to pay for Amazon Web Services. The equivalent action on ICP, you have to buy ICP and burn it to pay to use the network. That means you could easily have tens of billions and eventually hundreds of billions of dollars of ICP that is purchased every year and then burned just to pay to use the network. Now, not in the next 2 weeks or anything, but what we're seeing is the amount of ICP being burned and the rate at which the network is being used is consistently growing. You can look at all those metrics on the ICP dashboard. And this is why I've saved this for the end. This really gets nuts. Right now, there's $1.5 billion in ICP that is locked for at least 8 years. We could see the most epic supply crunch we've ever seen. We've seen coins like Hex that are an absolute blatant scam and Ponzi scheme. And they have done, just with some marketing and people that were tricked into buying something worthless and locking it up, those coins like that have had massive pumps just because of coin locking by itself. Now, if you actually combine the locking mechanism with real utility and a real product with the best technology in crypto, I mean, we easily, in this bull market, could see ICP, at least for a moment, flip Bitcoin because of the supply crunch, because of people and enterprises locking it up for the long term to get the maximum voting rewards, and then actually building on the network and buying it. ICP is onboarding developers faster than anywhere else, which means more adoption for the network, more ICP burned, more users using apps on ICP. If you look consistently across GitHub activity, ICP is way higher than anything else out there, according to Crypto Miso and many other ways of looking at it. And what you want to look at is where are things going. Yes, there are more in terms of quantity developers building on things like Ethereum right now, but which ecosystems are growing the fastest? There's not that many new developers coming into Ethereum relative to the amount of developers that are leaving Ethereum. And in the future, with ICP having its own EVM, with Bitcoin technology, anyone who's developing on Ethereum will easily be able to move in and develop on ICP and move off of the centralized hosting as well. I've talked to developers as well as watched developers on YouTube. Developers who are finding ICP for the first time are getting extremely excited about what it can do. I remember one developer in particular who paid $200 to talk to me for an hour and ask me questions. He said that as soon as he discovered ICP, he was shocked nobody had told him about this before. And he was dumping his time into learning how to build on it because he can see this is where the future's going. Because this technology is far superior to anything else. And this is where anyone who really knows, who knows how things have been built before and then discovers ICP, this is where people will want to build going forward. And that's, if that's not like the clearest sign of where things are going. And here's an example of how good this technology is, because it's one thing to just say something, the concrete numbers. Hosting a gigabyte of data fully on chain with ICP is $5 a year. That's 10,000 times cheaper than hosting the same amount of data on Solana. And that's assuming you could even do it on Solana. It's very easy to put data on ICP. It's just putting a picture actually on chain on Solana would not be very easy to do. And it would cost 10,000 times more than putting it on ICP. Do you see where we're going here? If you want an example of this technology, look at OpenChat. I have a link on jerrybanfield.com. OpenChat is a Telegram style app hosted fully on chain with hundreds of thousands of users just by itself on ICP. It is burning ICP. It is automatically governed by a DAO on ICP. And for crypto creators like me, OpenChat is the best place to build a community. Way better than Discord or Telegram. I know because I've done all of it. So when you look at all this stuff, ICP has no competition. Bitcoin has a bunch of competition. Bitcoin is, all these other chains are competing with Bitcoin. They are making faster versions of Bitcoin. There's nothing else doing what ICP is doing. It's a singularity in crypto. It's a black hole that's sucking everything in. And this is educational material. My goal is to build a world full of wealthy people. I see that ICP is the easiest path to wealth today. I am buying and buying and buying. Anything under $20 is an absolute buy as much as I possibly can. Over $20, I hope I have my bag fully loaded by then. But, you know, anything I have to invest, put more into ICP and the ecosystem. And then when it hits over $100, I will make over $100 a day indefinitely in voting rewards, passive income without touching the principal. There's nothing that's even close to this in crypto. As always, do your own research, make your own decisions. If this has been helpful for you, I trust you'll come back. Would love for you to go to jerrybanfield.com, follow on Twitch, sub to all my YouTube channels, join Discord, join Open Chat, talk to me on a one-on-one call. Let's go, baby. Thanks for watching. Thanks to all of you live on Twitch. I'll be back with another video on YouTube soon for you.